law school is very difficult to change, and in the US it's very much structured after the guidelines of the American Bar Association. What I think is very important is how we prepare, more than train, how we educate and how we expose our students beyond that core curriculum that we have in the law schools. And one way to do it is through co-curricular subjects. And in 2001, I started a global internship program. So I come here talking a little bit of my experience with the students and our law school. Now, when you think in the US, you're thinking, okay, these guys have a big budget. They are not really running after some paper, and they are not very worried about their salaries, and they have all the technical tools at their disposal. But, of course, big surprise, we all have to adapt to the new changes. Recession has reached the US in so many ways, but it has also touched higher education. And we are not alien to these changes, we have to adapt. And in order to do so, we have to begin to look around and do things in innovative, creative ways. Now, I'm not going to compare a university, although the University of Georgia, and I may say so, it's the first public university of the US. It was founded in 1785. And the law school is ranked number 26 among the law schools in the US, which is a very high ranking for a public law school. But of course, being Argentinian, I tend to look things from different perspectives. And I always try to think out of the box. I'm a person that thinks that law should be handled as any other science, and if we are asking scientists to be innovative, creative, we're asking very few lawyers, law professors, and law schools to do the same. And I think we can do an enormous amount of things with very little money, but adding so much more elements to the legal education. And let me explain how I envision this. As I said, in 2001, I started the program where I had a couple of students who had been my research assistants, and they spoke Spanish, and I could not pay them during the year for wonderful work they had been doing as researchers. So I decided to send them during the summer to take some classes in Argentina. I got a grant for them, $6,000, and I sent the two of them with $3,000 each. Okay, so at the same time, I'm Associate Director of the Dean-Ross Center for International Law. I'm also the Director of an International Judicial Training Program, which has been training judges from abroad since 1998. And so I thought, okay, why don't I use all these many contacts I have around the world, and I began to send the law students abroad. This last summer, I sent 30 students to 18 countries to work during the summer. Now, why I say it's so important co-curricular activities in the preparation of the lawyers with a world-class education. Because if we try to change each time there is an advancement, an innovation, any sort of changes, we try to change our core curriculum, we're going to find that we're always late, very late in the changes. We're always at the end of the road, and you know as well as I do, developments happen quickly and doesn't wait or do not wait for anybody to follow. So, co-curricular activities such as the clinics, such as the moot courts, such as internships. And when I say internships, I'm not only talking about internships abroad. I'm talking about working around the law school, meaning 3 blocks from the law school. One of the things I find interesting is we're preparing the students to think with a legal mind, but we are not preparing the students to be proactive in public interest work, in doing outreach and doing service. That has to be one of the elements of any future lawyer. As I said, this year I sent 30 students abroad. Among the countries I sent them, and I want to explain a little bit what type of work. I sent the students, in fact 2 students, to Cambodia to work in Heritage Watch in the protection. Heritage Watch is an NGO helping to protect the trade of antiquities. I mean, trying to avoid the trade of antiquities. And all the looting out of Angkor Wat. I sent students to Papua New Guinea to work in the abstracts of the Supreme Court judgments to put together the final reviews of the judgments. I sent students to Europe to work, for example, 2 students to work in Bratislava in refugee camps under the Human Rights League, working with the gypsies. I sent students to work in Bolivia with the Aymara Indians in a foundation called Fundación Empresa Trabajo. It's trying to set up small and medium-sized businesses for the Aymara Indians in Santa Cruz de Bolivia. Okay, so I have sent students all over the place, and the intention is not to send them only to law firms, which I've done, but to send them to NGOs, human rights organizations, international courts. I sent a student to International Criminal Court of Rwanda. And you may think that this entails a lot of money. Well, there are ways, and I've been trying to be also creative in that way to get funds. Not only there is the support from the law school of $1,500 to each student to offset their expenses, but I try to encourage the students to get a small grant from organizations, foundations. Now, what's the result of this? Okay, if we're going to have a world-class education, we need the students to know their world. It's not only the state of Georgia, they need to know the U.S., but they need to know what's all about outside the U.S. Do they need to get out of the U.S.? Well, in my case, I try to expose them to other systems because I think that U.S. students have a very I would say narrow understanding of the world beyond the limits of the country. And what I found out is they come more interested than ever to do very creative things. I'm getting students who, after have done the internship, have decided to finish their law degree and go to do human rights. Another student decided to work for a Palestinian camp in Jordan, in Amman, Jordan. Students are coming back with new ideas, and what I say to them is, there is a life beyond the law firm, there is a life beyond the corporate in-house counsel, there is a life beyond the tribunal, the courts, and so seek that what you like the best. One of the students came this year saying, I love art, but nobody's listening to what I love, so I'm going to quit law school because I don't find any platform here for what I really love. And I said, why did you enter law school? Well, I thought I could do something related to art. And I said, yes, you can. So I sent her to London, to Sotheby's and Christie's, to get into their libraries and see the certification of origin of the artwork that's being sold by the two auction houses, to see in which ways people are looting art out of the countries and what they are doing with that. When we today talk about terrorism, one of the major financial incomes for terrorism is the looting of art. Southeast Asia has an enormous problem. They're getting art out of Cambodia and taking it to Thailand, and from there Hong Kong, and flying to London and New York to the auction houses. Okay, so we're talking about how to prepare the students for the world that's coming to them. I spent a lot of time thinking, what will this world of them look in 5 years, 10 years? Will it be the huge law firm? No longer. The law firms are cutting.
6 and 4 times of 2005. So we are not acquiring the companies in India domestically, but we are acquiring abroad also, as our speakers have also told, and you also know about it. Now, I'll end with this and put the house open for questions, and I'll ask Mr. Arya if he wants to make some additions. Thank you.
Urban population and your village population is also increasing every day, and our fertile land again we are losing. And corporate sector nowadays acquiring not 5 or 10 acres land, but hundreds or thousands acres land. I think the question which is very serious, instead of raising on dais, it should be raised on the dais of the parliament. It is more a question relating to the very future of my nation, sir. Therefore, sir, this question should be answered affirmatively.
सर मैं ऐड कर रहा हूँ, आप इकट्ठे जवाब दीजिए. सर what I want to say is, जो सर ने अभी कहा बात तो ठीक है कि on the garb of that we are losing our natural resources. One thing कि हम capital gain, हम income tax department आपको capital gain tax benefit दे रहा है, जरूरत ही नहीं देने की. We are selling them, they are coming into our country, and our natural, what is the crux? End क्या है? End ये है कि हमारे natural resources जा रहे हैं. उन लोगों के यहाँ आने से हमारे नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज जा रहे हैं. कैपिटल गेन टैक्स इसको मिला, बोले गया, वो लोगों की एंट्री हो गई सस्ती लैंड पे. यहाँ आके लास्ट क्या मिला हमें? हमारे नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज जा रहे हैं. तो हम उन्हें क्यों कैपिटल गेन बेनिफिट दें, क्यों दें? हम ये एंट्री अभी क्यों नहीं रोक देते?
I also have an observation to make. All the panelists have agreed that mergers and acquisitions, so-called, and disinvestment has helped in wealth creation. Now, if any activity helps in wealth creation, and let it be a disinvestment, mergers, acquisition, then any activity which creates wealth is welcome and it should be encouraged. So what's bad about it if Vedanta, Mr. Agarwal has made money, and because of disinvestment few people have made money? There were so many people who could have acquired those companies. Those companies were loss-making companies. Today Air India is loss-making. Nobody wants to travel in Air India. If it is disinvested, tomorrow somebody takes over Air India and it makes money, what's bad in it?
सर यही चीज लालगढ़ में हो रही है. सर यही चीज लालगढ़ में हो रही है. नेक्स्ट लाइफ जो नक्सलबाड़ी है.
One university. How many acres of land a university requires?
Sir, if you are setting up, if you are
university, if a corporate sector will take 8,000 acres, you see the university.
I'll answer your question. I'll answer your question.
No, when we can invite the foreign universities in India for a higher education to come to fulfill the needs of Indian intelligentsia, which is running out, and which is draining out, what is the loss if the universities are coming over here and educating our people is still one factor. Second factor, you said that the small scale industry should be developed. Today we have a figure, more than 60,000 small scale industries are sick. And whose money? It's my tax money, which was with all these financial institutions, which has been borrowed by these people and we made use of it. Where this money has gone? Who is responsible for that? There is no law to get back that money. So what about the small scale industries? Then there is a merger and acquisition of some part of, there are 3 accounts on that. One is merger and acquisition by the government of India, which was on a user factor, which was where the banks were